All right, so welcome back to the Merck Method, where we explore mental wellness, growth, and the human experience. So I just want to take a shout out real quick to Urban Forest Craft Brewing. It's their first vinyl night. They're located on 6551 East Riverside Boulevard in Rockford, Illinois. So if you're in the area, come check them out. Bring some LPs, listen to some good music, and just a really great atmosphere with a really great group of people. And of course, always drink responsibly. So today we're going to talk about trying to stop proving yourself to the wrong people. And there's a certain kind of heaviness that comes when you're constantly trying to prove your worth, right? And the hardest part is when you realize you're doing it for the wrong people. I mean, you can tell you're trying so hard to please these individuals and they really don't care. Maybe it's your boss who doesn't notice your effort. Maybe it's a partner or a friend who takes you for granted. It could be family members who see you through that old lens and don't recognize how much you've actually grown since they've last seen you. But realistically, no matter that situation, it hurts, right? It hurts to not feel validated when you're putting so much effort into something. And when you're working so hard just to be seen, it's easy to really let that negativity creep in. I tell everybody it's so easy to go to the negative side of things instead of the positive side. So that's what we always try to work on. That's why today's conversation is about staying positive. We really got to stay positive in these situations, especially these, because again, we look for that validation, that attaboy moment. And a lot of times it's not going to come. And you point all that energy into something that really somebody's not really valuing you in the first place. I mean, let's be real. Every single one of us listening right now at some point has been in this position. Might not be huge, but you've been there one way or another. You've bent over backwards for someone who didn't notice. You felt like you've given that time and that energy, that love, hoping it would finally be enough. And then you're crushed when the outcome is different than you thought. It's human nature to want that validation. I mean, who doesn't want to be noticed and recognized for good things that they're doing? Who doesn't want that approval? To want to feel like our efforts really matter. That's what that is all about. But here's the hard truth. When you're trying to prove your worth to the wrong people, you're never going to win that battle. They don't care. And it's not because you're not worthy of it, but basically it's because they're not capable of seeing it. We're trying to give these people this control over how we validate ourselves when they're not even looking for the good part in you in the first place. Staying positive in those moments starts with recognizing that that problem isn't you. It's where you're placing that energy. When you give your best to people who don't appreciate it, it can feel like rejection. And rejection really cuts deep. I mean, that really just sits with you, especially when you're building yourself up to look for the other part of it. But positivity isn't about pretending that that rejection doesn't sting. It's about reframing what that rejection actually means. Okay? Instead of asking, why am I not good enough for them? Shift that question. Reword it a little bit. Why am I trying so hard to earn space in a place that doesn't honor me? Why am I using this energy to give it to somebody who's not looking for it in the first place? That reframe is powerful, okay, because it takes you out of self blame and puts that responsibility back where it belongs. You are worthy. I'm going to say that again. You are worthy. But not everyone has the capacity to recognize it. It's not your fault. They're just not looking for it. It's not your burden to carry. Drop that bag. You cannot please everyone, and you will not get validation from everyone in return as well. The biggest problem or the biggest danger about trying to prove yourself to the wrong people is that it really drains your light. It really changes your perspective. You start to get to the negative side of things. You start doubting yourself. You start lowering your standards to fit their expectations and not your own. You start thinking that if you just try harder, give it a little more, maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll look at you differently. Maybe they'll change their perspective of you. But here's the reality. You could give the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the wrong people will still complain about that darkness. Think about that for a second. Staying positive means refusing to let someone else's blindness convince you that you are not invisible. Stop giving the control to other people about letting them try to validate you. You don't need it. Now, how do we actually do this, right? Well, one of the biggest words I use constantly, awareness. So ask yourself, who am I trying to prove myself to? And are these the right people? Those are two huge questions to ask. Because here's something we don't talk about enough. Not everyone deserves access to your effort, right? Not everyone is meant to sit front row in your life. Some people were only meant to stand in the back of the crowd, and that's okay. Some people come into your life to make a difference, and some people come into your life as a learning experience, and then they vanish. When you stop over investing in the wrong audience, you free yourself to focus on the people who actually cheer for you. Those are your people. Another key thing to think about this is what proof means. Because too often we're thinking about proving our worth, and that means getting someone else's approval, but real proof doesn't come from someone clapping for you. It comes from you showing up for yourself. I mean, did you honor your values when you did this choice? Did you keep moving forward when it was hard? I always say if you're going to fall forward. That's still progress. Did you stay true to your character even when others doubted you? Did you stay on that path and believe in yourself and what you are doing? That's the kind of proof that matters. The beautiful thing is, once you anchor yourself in that kind of worth, other people's opinions lose their power. They don't matter. What matters is what you're doing and that you're staying on the path of what you are trying to accomplish. I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So think about some of the most successful people in history, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders. Almost every one of them was doubted or dismissed by someone along the way, right? They had to start somewhere, like the Merck method. I'm sure there's doubters. I'm sure there still will be, but it continues to grow and it quiets those doubters. They were told they weren't talented enough, smart enough, capable enough. I've gotten a lot of those. I'm sure you have too. And they didn't stop. You didn't stop. I'm not stopping. Those artists, those leaders, those entrepreneurs, they didn't waste energy trying to convince the doubters. They stayed on their path. They focused on that vision and kept moving. And guess what? Eventually, those exact same people who doubted them couldn't ignore their worth. They were everywhere. That's what happens when you stay positive. That's what happens when you keep proving yourself for the right reasons, not to be accepted, but to grow into your full self. Of course, this doesn't mean you shut off your emotions, right? It still hurts when people you care about don't value you. They don't acknowledge you. They don't validate you. It still stings when you give your all and you don't get noticed. But positivity doesn't erase that pain. It simply helps you not to get stuck in that position. You're allowed to grieve the relationships. You're allowed to grieve the opportunities you missed or the connections where you weren't seen. But that's where it stops. Don't let that grief make you forget your light. It's in every single one of you listening right now. The wrong people not recognizing your worth doesn't mean the right people won't. But another way to stay positive, how about practice the gratitude for the people who do actually see you? See all your progress. See how hard you've been working. Maybe it's a friend who's always checking in with you. Maybe it's a coworker who values your effort and always tells you. Could be a stranger who compliments your work. That still counts. It's easy to focus on who overlooks us, But positivity grows when we shift our attention to the ones who already appreciate us. Don't lose sight of those people who continue to be there for you either way. Positive, negative, indifferent, they're always still there and they always show up for you. That gratitude shows that you're not invisible. You're just shining in places that matter more than you realize. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some self talk for you because when you're trying to prove your worth to the wrong people, that voice inside your head can be harsh. You start telling yourself, I must not be good enough, and I must be doing something wrong. That negativity becomes a loop, and you get stuck in that loop. But staying positive requires interrupting that loop. We need to block that. You got to replace those thoughts with truths. I am enough. I don't need to shrink to fit someone else's vision of me. I don't need to earn my worth. It's already here. You are all worthy in your own right. The more you speak life into yourself, the less power the wrong people have over you. You have to take that control back that you're giving to people that don't deserve it. So here's the ultimate mindset shift, right? Stop proving yourself to be accepted and start proving yourself to grow. When your effort is directed at your own growth, those skills, your character, the dreams you have, positivity just starts to flow naturally through those because you're not dependent on someone else's applause. You're not dependent on somebody else's vision of you from their eyes. You're building something deeper, something more internal, something that can't be taken away. Taking that control back. And when you live from that space, the right people will find you. They will surround you. You will find your people when you start to find your path, that positivity. It's amazing how you start to drop off. It's just like when I was talking about some people come into your life to be those people. Some people come into your life for learning experiences and those people disappear. So if you're listening right now and you feel tired, tired of chasing that approval, tired of giving your all and not being seen, I want you to hear me. Your worth is not up for debate. The wrong people's blindness doesn't define you. Their silence doesn't erase your value. Their lack of recognition doesn't make you less. But you have to stay positive. But that staying positive doesn't mean ignoring the struggle. It's going to be there. But it means standing firm in the truth that you don't need to earn that right to be here. You are already enough. You always have been. You always will be right now, just as you are. I want you to stop wasting your shine trying to light up spaces that don't want you to be bright. Stop going into rooms where they don't recognize you for who you are. Focus on proving yourself to you and you only. And then grow out, branch out, stay positive, keep growing. And trust that the right people, the ones who see you and appreciate you and celebrate your worth, are out there. They will find you. I promise you that. And then until then, never forget you don't have to prove yourself to the wrong people because the right people won't need proof. Let's take a pause here for a reflection for a second, okay? I want you to ask yourself, what parts of yourself have you dimmed just to make someone else comfortable? Whether it be at work, whether it be in your home life, your friends. And is it worth continuing to do that? Sometimes the hardest truth to accept is that not everyone will clap for you. You can be kind, you can be hardworking, you can be loyal, you're full of potential, and still some people just don't accept you. But here's the thing, their silence doesn't mean you're not worth celebrating. It just means that they're not your audience. And that's okay. Not everybody has to be in your circle. Not everybody has to be friends with you. You don't have to be friends with everyone. That's not how it works. The right people will recognize your light without you having to dim yourself and making that extra effort for no reason. One way to protect your positivity, set some boundaries. Those boundaries aren't walls to keep people out, they're guardrails to protect your peace. When you realize you're giving too much energy to the wrong people, it's okay to step back. You need to take a time out. It's okay to say, I deserve better, because you do. Why not? It's okay to stop pouring into someone who only takes and never gives. It's not selfish, that's self respect. And that positivity grows when you respect yourself enough to walk away from that thing that drains you. Look at it this way: proving your worth to the wrong people is like shouting into an empty room. No matter how loud you get or how loud you yell, no one's actually listening. But when you invest in the right places, even that smallest whisper will be heard. Somebody will pay attention. That positivity is built up on redirecting your effort. And you're not giving up, you're just choosing more wisely where your energy goes. I mean, that's fair. Why wouldn't you? Because you're worth it. This is one I really like. Celebrating the small wins. Like, too often we're worried about those big milestones, a promotion that we know isn't coming. Maybe a degree or a public recognition. And we feel that if we get that, then we'll be recognized. A lot of times that's really not true. But the worth isn't measured in those moments, anyways. It's built in those little victories that have gotten you to that point. The ones that you see more daily than just on those big occasions, right? Small wins like, did you keep a promise to yourself today? Did you take a step back? Did you take a time out when you were tired? That's proof of strength. Those are little wins, but they're still wins. And when you start to celebrate those wins, they add up, and that positivity becomes part of your everyday rhythm. You're rewiring your brain on those positive moments. And just remember that trying to prove yourself to the wrong people is often rooted in fear. It's that fear of being unseen, unloved, or just flat out left out. But fear doesn't have to control you. Fear is a liar. Positivity steps in when you choose love over fear, love for yourself and love for your journey. When you operate from love instead of fear, you no longer beg for validation. You live with confidence, and then knowing that the right people will never need convincing. You just have to remember that the wrong people rejecting you is often life's way of clearing space for the right people to enter. It may feel painful in the moment, but sometimes those closed doors are actually protection. I've seen it more times than not. Staying positive means trusting that rejection isn't the end of your story. It's just a detour. We'll pick another door. It's that redirection towards something better. Your purpose, your positive energy is sitting behind the next door. It's going to align with your worth. So as I start to close this episode for today, I want to just thank you for spending this time with me. And I hope this episode really reminded you of your worth, because sometimes people need to hear that. I hope it gave you encouragement to stay positive. Even when it feels like you're proving yourself to the wrong people, remember your light is too valuable to waste in spaces that can't see you. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need the same reminder. Remember to take care of your heart and protect your peace. And of course, never forget, you are already enough. So as I leave you always, I leave you with this. Stay grounded, stay kind to yourself, and remember, strength begins with honesty. Until next time.